So Eric, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been a good long time, but it's as if no time has passed at all. You look great.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm
So
happy to see what you're doing online.
Thank you. Thank you. So I wanted to have you on the show to talk a little bit about real estate. This is the time. I don't know if this is the time for anything, right? We're in the middle of 2020 and people are really on both ends of the spectrum, right? Some people are struggling a little more than usual, and other people have found themselves in kind of a unique situation to actually be able to make moves. So because I'm not super versed in the real estate world, I thought someone with a good long history and set of experiences in real estate would be really good to have on the show. So thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it.
So why don't we just jump right in? Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been doing real estate?
Okay. Well, my name is Eric Lindsey. I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and never left. I'm still here for the most part. In regards to the real estate career, I got licensed back in 2006. I got my broker's license a few years later after that in 2009, and I haven't looked back since then.
And what drew you to real estate? How did you get into real estate in the first place?
Well, I actually had no intentions of getting into real estate, just to be completely honest with you. After college, I ended up working at Bank of America. I was a branch manager there. So I got into banking, and I would help people, who come into the bank, apply for their pre-approvals or home equity loans and things like that, but never really thought about getting into real estate on my own. But at the time, I had a roommate, and he had a corporate job as well, but he got into real estate on the side. So I'm just, living the young single bachelor life, working 9 to 5, hanging out on the weekends. And my roommate is just hustling on the weekends, nights and weekends. I got a showing, Eric. I got a showing. So I'm just sitting back at the house playing Xbox, being a young guy, being silly. And he's like, Eric, I had like 3 closings last week and I made like $20,000. Now this is like, 15 years ago. And I'm like, you made $20,000 in a week? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, Eric, you got to get your license. You got to get your license. And I'm like, no, everybody and their mother has a license. Like, I don't want to just be like everybody else. I got a really comfortable job at Bank of America. I got benefits. I got direct deposit. I'm not trying to work for myself. So he said, okay. If you don't want to get this, he said, if you don't want to get this money, it's okay. I'll get more from me, right? He made a joke, something like that.
Right.
So a couple of months passed, and he said, Eric, you should really look into buying like a multifamily for yourself, for rental property for passive income. I'm like, yeah, I got a good job. I got a little money saved up. Let's do it. So I ended up buying a 3-family property, and he was my broker. So I sat down at the table, and I was the only person who brought a check. My roommate got a commission check. The seller flipped the property, so he made like $200,000. The attorneys got paid. Everyone got paid except me. I was the only person who brought a check to the table. And I said, you know what? This is going to be the last time this happens. So after that day, I was really convinced. I'm like, you know what? I got to get in the business. And literally 3 months later, I had my license.
That's amazing. I love it. It's nothing like looking around and you're like, oh, I'm paying everybody. It's me.
How can Emlin Group increase your brand recognition? With beautiful, shareable digital content. Try our premium promos for your real estate highlight reel. Your name may not be on the lawn sign, so let them know that you have the keys. real estate marketing solutions for busy professionals. Emlin Group Productions. Book us today at emlingroupllc.com.
Yeah, so I got into it. I was still working at the bank, and that's kind of how I started off. I started naturally helping people from the bank outside of that, but I knew that was kind of a conflict of interest. So I said, you know what? I want to be on the up and up with my career. So let me give my notice to the bank and let me just try this full time and give it a shot. And everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy, except two people, honestly. It was my wife and then my director of operations, who still works with me today. Those were the only two people who believed in me, honestly. And, they were like, give it a shot. And it was, ever since then, I never looked back.
But it's the thing you said earlier about everybody getting into real estate. It feels like the thing that anybody can get into, but you really have to have an aptitude for it. Yeah. Anyone can get in. It's staying in and being successful and longevity, all of that. That really makes a difference. That's huge. That's huge. I'm glad to hear that you took a leap.
Yeah, you can look it up. There's some crazy real estate stat that like only 5% of agents actually survive after like their first or second year. Something crazy. So,
wow.
There's like a high fill.
My mother-in-law owns a real estate school, and I was like, listen, it's just not for me. I think it's awesome, but I'm not about that life. But it's good to know your strengths. It's good to know your strengths.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
So let's talk about the real estate market right now. If you could speak to what's going on in the market sort of nationally, if you have any insight, but definitely at the local level in maybe your tri-state area, Massachusetts.
Yeah, so
we're pretty close in Connecticut.
Yeah, the real estate market is insane, right now. I'll talk about what I'm seeing locally. I haven't really even had time to study what's going on nationally too much. But in April, just with COVID and all the shutdowns and everything like that, it was kind of a scary time. What I can tell you is we started off the year with a lot of momentum. We had a very good January. And then February, March, things got real crazy. And I remember in April, I think we had like 4 closings canceled. And I never have deals canceled, never mind like 4. And I felt like it was a recession all over again. I felt like it was like 2008 or whatever it was. And I'm like, man, this is going to be tough because I legit lost like over $40,000 in income that I was banking on.
Wow.
And that was kind of scary. It was really scary. But then the strangest thing happened. Like everybody was nervous and everybody thought it was like doom and gloom. But then by like the end of April, like the phone started ringing again, which was like, it was kind of strange. And people were like, yeah, we still want to sell and we still want to buy. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And since then, this is probably the busiest I have been in my career, if not in the last 4 years. Like it's been insanely busy. What I can say in Boston and surrounding Boston is we're dealing with the market where we have 50% of the inventory we had this time last year. And prices are up like 10 to 15% from this time last year. So imagine that we have half as many houses to sell. We have more buyers on the market who have more time to look because they're not working, and prices have gone up. So it's like the perfect storm for a crazy market. I have clients who are offering 50, 75,000 over asking price, and they're still not getting properties. So it's pretty crazy right now. I can say that it's crazy.
So for the layman watching, low inventory means a high demand, right?
Correct.
And then higher prices. And so now people are fighting over these. You go in way over price because you want to secure the deal. And you're saying that they still aren't securing the deal at that amount because other people are just like tossing money at it.
Correct. So like just to break it down very simply, say like last time this year in August, there were 20 houses in Dorchester on the market, right? So, for the month, it was good. This year, we're dealing with 10 or less. So we have half houses selling. So that's what I mean in terms of inventory. And then the prices obviously are just going up, which is crazy. So it's a hard market. It's definitely a hard market to be in right now.
A hard market for buyers, but not so bad for sellers.
No, that's correct. So buyers are having it tough. and sellers are pretty much having their day right now, and they're having
Right,
their
right.
first that they can cherry pick which buyers they want. Some
Mhm.
sellers are like, okay, I'll sell it to you, but I need to live back in the house for another year at low rent, and like buyers are like, cool, okay, like you can live there for free for 6 months. Like it's I'm like, the stuff we see is crazy. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's bananas.
So,
Yeah.
so if we're thinking about these two groups of people, buyers and sellers right now, what is some advice you have for buyers on the market who I've heard that this is a good time for buyers because the interest rates are pretty low, but then you have those other
Yeah.
challenges. What would you say for first-time home buyers right now in getting
Yeah.
prepared to start searching?
So definitely find an experienced agent, who knows what they're doing, who's been around for a little bit of time, because they're going to make the difference on getting your offer accepted. I can tell you that. Just don't give up. It's very frustrating right now, but have a game plan. Be very specific on like what you're looking for, what towns you're looking for. There's really no need to see 100 houses if you're looking for a house. If you break it down and you know what you're looking for, you can probably find it looking at 10 to 15 houses at the most. You don't have to go crazy. But it's a great time to buy. Rates are at an all-time low. I mean, if you can buy versus paying rent, it's kind of a no-brainer if you can do it. But really, the biggest thing is just don't be discouraged. Just go into it knowing it's going to be a little bit of a fight. But if you stick with it, you'll be fine. Definitely.
And is this a time where people need more of a down payment, or are there like do you need 20%? Can you deal with 10? Like what is the suggestions
So
around that?
what I can say in Boston and around Boston, I mean, you definitely have like that unspoken obstacle of first-time home buyers who are putting like 3.5% down if it's FHA, or 0% down with VA financing. And it's hard because they're competing against people who are putting 20% down. It's hard. Like, we really can't sugarcoat it. But I've seen people putting 20% down and they're getting beat by people who have cash. So it's not even like, okay, I got the 20% and it's a no-brainer, I'm going to get a house. My clients who have 20% are still getting their butt kicked, like everybody else. So I'm being, but you can still buy a house as a first-time buyer with 3.5 to 5%. It's a little bit more of a challenge, but don't give up. Kind of like my little advice I give to my first-time home buyer clients. This is just my 2 cents on it. I would definitely suggest for your first property, if you can, to buy a multifamily house. Try to buy like a 2-family or a 3-family house. The reason why I say that is because you can get in and you can have like help with your mortgage payment. And that's a big thing to offset and to help you save up. But you can buy that multifamily at like, 3.5, 5% down, live in it for, maybe a year or so. And then you can move forward and look for your single family. And because you're going to that single family and it's going to be your primary residence, you can put down another 3.5 or 5% and you're good. The problem is if you buy the single family first and then go to buy a multifamily later, the bank's going to consider it an investment property and you're going to need like 20 to 25% down, which is hard for anybody. I don't care.
I know.
Like, that's hard.
Man.
So those
We
are
did not.
those are my words of advice. Buy the multi first and get it out the way.
I wish we were so hard-headed and so focused when it came time to buy a house that we would not take that advice. And I think that sometimes that comes down to culture and experience. And we were just so worried that we would buy a multifamily house and then end up with not with tenants, but with like family roommates, right? Or like we just have the culture, the family culture of like so and so is coming from so and so place, or so and so, got kicked out of their place and needs a place to go. And like it's really hard to turn away family, right? And we were young, we were 29, 30. It was really challenging. Right. You gotta get them in first.
No lie, on the 2-family I bought with my wife, the tenant was in that property before we closed. Like we worked it out. So
Oh
she
my
moved in like
God.
a week before we did. So there was no options. Nobody else was going to crash with us. I'm like, nope, we already got a tenant. And she's still
See,
there.
we didn't know. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I know, I understand now. I understand now.
Yeah.
And I wish that sometimes you didn't have to learn that lesson the hard way, because I
Yeah.
would love to be able to have a multifamily now. It just, it's hard to hear that information when you're not ready to receive it. So if anybody is watching, definitely buy the multifamily first.
Trust us. Trust us.
Trust us now. Trust us now. And would you say, so I know that you said that people can get in with like 3.5 down, but would you recommend that, or would you suggest to people that they hold off and wait till they have more cash in terms of the long-term payment, back payment of your mortgage, and what are the cost benefits, the benefit analysis there?
Yeah.
From your opinion?
The thing about it is, if you put less than 20% down, you have to pay what's called mortgage insurance. And mortgage insurance,
PMI.
it can be another couple of $100s on your payment a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you have, 20% equity in your house, you can get that taken off. My advice is buy a house as soon as you can. And I don't care if it's with 3.5, 5, 20, whatever you have, because the alternative is that you're paying rent. And if you pay rent for 2 or 3 years, that's just money you might as well have just set on fire throughout the window, because you have nothing to show for it. Like you have nothing to show for it. Like your landlord can tell you to move at any time. Your landlord can say, I'm selling the house. Your landlord can say they're raising the rent. Like you have no control on what you're doing. You might think you have control because you haven't heard from your landlord in a couple of years, but that can change at any moment. And like, that's just not a good place to be in when you have kids and work and the landlord's telling you got to go in 60 days. That's not good. And then you have nothing to show for it. So even with PMI and all that, I would still take PMI any day, paying down my own mortgage, building my own equity, over just paying some landlord's mortgage, for their 4th, 5th, 6th house or whatever it is. Yeah. So buy that house now.
I know, because in our area, there's some landlords who own multiple apartments, multiple things around here. It's like the same name on every building. Exactly. The only thing that I would add there, as like a little tiny pushback, because sometimes I'm just not sure, because we've spent so much money on this house, right? Like we've spent so much money on this house, and sometimes I feel like if we were renting, even with setting the money on fire, I might still be rich right now.
Well, think about this though. How much do you own? How much have you paid down your house since you voted? And if you put your house on the market now, how much would you make?
I think there's a little bit in it, but it's still in the real time.
Yeah.
It still feels tight. It still feels like every problem is a $2,500 problem, right? Like houses don't have $500 problems.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like I encourage all my clients to get home warranties on their homes. The home warranty is a few $100s for the year, but if your hot water tank goes, if your heating system goes, just call them. It's like $100 for the claim, and if they can't fix it, they replace it. So that's not cosmetic. That might be stuff you want to do, but that'll cover you on the stuff that you have to do, like your hot water thing going in the middle of the night, or your heat not working. It's definitely worth it to have it. 100%.
We just got that insurance from the water company that covers the line from the house to the street.
Yep.
You know that?
That's important. That's important.
Yeah, because we thought we could get away with it without having it, and then we didn't. Thankfully, we didn't have a problem, but other people around me have had problems, and I was like, we probably should spend that $200.
It's worth it.
Probably worth it.
My last house, we had our water main break, and fortunately, it wasn't my fault. It was at the fault of the utility company because they hit it or something. So I'm good.
Like from out
Where's your father?
In the shower.
Okay, tell me. Explain.
Emily took the light out of your office, then he hit me with it right here.
That's not okay. Tell him that that's not okay. But also, I'm in the middle. Look at this. We're recording. This is my friend Eric. This is Lincoln.
Hi, Lincoln. How are you?
You said hi. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I like your shirt.
Okay. I need you to. Can you take care of it for 5 minutes until Dad gets out of the shower?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dad has to know.
And then we'll have pizza. The neighbors are coming over for pizza, okay? No, not all of the neighbors. Can you go?
Dad has to know he cannot get in the shower while he's watching the kids. That's like rule number one.
Just listen.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Whew, I'm just trying to like keep my whole thing together. And he says to me, "Oh, but have you ever been interrupted in the middle of recording?" And I was like, "Yes." He goes, "No, that's a lie."
Here we go.
Facts. Here we go. Okay, and I'm 3 floors up. I'm three floors up, and he's come up here. I'm in the attic.
Wow.
It also means I have no idea what's going on with my children right now. Thankfully,
that's true.
He's 6, and he's an old man inside. We joke that he's a first. He's a first of a first of a first. He's firstborn. I'm firstborn. James is firstborn. James's dad is firstborn. My mom is firstborn. So he's just got that firstborn stoic.
Yeah. My son has that too. So.
It's I think birth placement is a thing.
Yeah, it
really is a thing.
Yep.
Okay, so we will fix all of that in
post. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
Here we go. So we were talking about paying for mortgages. I mean, insurances. So now, what kind of? Let's start again.
No problem.
What was I going to say? What kind of advice? Okay, so we've talked about buyers. What about sellers right now? What kind of advice would you give to sellers who are maybe dealing with multiple offers, or on the other hand, maybe you're in a environment that isn't having as big, selling growth? This is what's happening in Boston.
Yeah. So my advice to sellers is if you're thinking you're going to sell, put the house on the market. Like a lot of people say next year. And in 2008, next year never came because the market crashed, right? So I'm not saying like it's doom and gloom. I'm not saying the market's going to crash, but that's the thing. The market goes in cycles. That's just, if you go in history, it happened in early 2000s. It happened in the 90s and the 80s. Like the market just goes in cycles, and we're overdue for a cycle change. But I don't see it happening anytime soon, but that's the whole point. You don't see it before it happens. So if people are on the fence, I mean, with the prices are being as high as they are, these are the prices have never been this high for houses, period, in history. So if you're thinking of selling, cash out now, and get your money and move on. That's my biggest advice. If you're dealing in a situation where you have multiple offers, you definitely have to go with the strongest offer. But a lot of buyers now are really sending they call them love letters, or they're telling stories about their family and who they are and why they want to be in that neighborhood. And my advice to the sellers is, take the time to read the letter if somebody actually wrote it to you, because you might find out a lot about a buyer and their family. And to me, that could be the difference in somebody's life, right? It could be the difference in their whole family structure, and it can make a huge difference. And that could be the deal breaker, not the deal breaker, but that could be the deciding factor. Okay, these offers are identical. I don't know this person from Adam, but this person wrote me a really, really nice letter about them and their kids and their plans and stuff like that. So, really, if you can, take the time and really learn about who's actually buying your house, and try to pass it on to the best fit you think is possible. Some people like to see that their house is going to somebody who's actually going to appreciate it, and a family who's going to raise kids, or even if it's not a situation with family and kids, just somebody who's going to appreciate it. So that's like I said, we have no idea what's going to happen in the market. You got a lot of things going on. You got forbearance, you got deferments, you got rental moratorium. You got so much going on in the market that we have no clue what the spring is going to look like or next summer is going to look like. So if you're thinking about selling, this is probably the best time to sell.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's move into investments, okay?
Yep.
Because I sort of grew up thinking, get my stuff in order and get a house, and then you just hunker down and you're going to be in that house for the rest of your life, right? I don't think I grew up feeling like I would be able to have multiple houses.
Yeah.
And this is the first time right now that I feel like maybe we could buy another house. Could you talk a little bit about taking the leap into investments and
Yeah.
what people should be thinking about?
Well, like I said earlier, I think the best advice I can give anybody looking to buy now is to try to buy a multifamily first. Try to buy a 2-family or a 3-family first, because you can put down a minimal down payment. If you have more money in the future, yeah, put it down to your principal later. But it's so much easier to buy it as your first property versus your second or your third. Because after you own your first property, if you're going to buy like a multifamily property or even a second property, period, you have to put 25% down, and that's really difficult. So I can't stress enough my advice to people to buy that multifamily property first. And then if you say, okay, I'm just not trying to do that, we're going to buy this house, the single family house, and it is what it is. I mean, maybe buy a house with one extra bedroom or one extra bathroom than you really think you need right now. Because what happened with me is that me and my wife, we bought a 2-family house, which was good. We bought the investment property first, which was smart. But our unit had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, right? So that was okay when it was just us 2. Then we had the first child, and it was like, okay, like 3 of us and 1 bathroom is not really working right now. We got to go to work. We got to go to school. So just plan for the future. Like if you might say, oh, it's just 2 of us, or it's just me by myself. I only need a 1 bedroom. Try to see if you can stretch it a little bit. Get the 2 bedroom or the 3 bedroom, even if you don't think you need it right now. Get the place with the extra bathroom, just so you can have that resale value in the future. So sometimes if you can stretch it, if your finances allow you to, maybe just think about the future a little bit more before you purchase what you buy.
That's a really good point. I remember when we were looking for a house, we were watching a bunch of shows on HGTV, and it was the one was like flip or like keep it or flip it or something like that.
Love it or list it or something like that.
Yeah, love it or list it. And there were a bunch of families in there who bought the house thinking it was their starter home. And so they bought a little tiny house, and now they have like 3 teenage boys, right, that are over 6 feet tall, and they're in this little tiny cottage, and they've been there way longer than they expected to, and it became much more difficult, right, around 2008 to just move into the next house. So we came in here thinking we should get a house that we think we can manage for a long time, and so it felt really empty when we were here by ourselves. And now 8 years later, it feels like
not enough space. It's not enough.
That's really good advice.
So definitely think about the future when you're doing that, if you can.
I love it. And as we close, can you tell people where they can find you if they are looking to buy or sell a house in the near future?
So I'm easy to find. Most people actually contact me through Facebook, through my personal page, which is absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. I mean, that's the best advertisement I guess you can get. It's free advertisement. So on Facebook, I'm Eric E. Lindsey. That's my personal page. But we do have a business page. It's Lindsey Realty Team. Then I'm on Instagram at Lindsey Realty Team as well. And then we have our website, which is LindseyRealtyTeam.com. So I'm pretty easy to find, but Facebook is probably the easiest way, to be honest. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to come in and talk to me about real estate. I absolutely did. Absolutely did. Even though I'm already in a house, it makes me think about my experience getting into one. And I'm seriously thinking about, what the future might look like, right? Maybe I don't have to live in Connecticut forever. And just getting my mind wrapped around the idea that this doesn't have to be forever. And we've used the lockdown to start decluttering a little bit. So I keep thinking, I don't want to pack that when we move.
It's true. It's true. But one other small point to make too is I am a broker with Keller Williams Realty, and we are international. So if you're watching this and you might say, oh, Eric might be great to connect with, but I live in Texas, or I live in New York, or I live in California. We have a great networking system, and I can connect you with the best realtor pretty much anywhere in any state that you're looking for.
Nice.
So don't be shy to reach.
Yes, I love it. So when you have something to share, when the next thing for Lindsey Realty Team comes up, I hope that you'll come back. And 100%. when we have questions, I will definitely call you about our next purchase.
I'm here. All right.
All right.
Thank you
So
again.
thank you so much for being here. And until next time.